Christopher Columbus is often credited with discovering the New World of the Americas in 1492. Though indigenous peoples had been living there for thousands of years and Norse explorers had visited parts of North America earlier, Columbus's voyages initiated widespread contact between Europe and the Americas, forever altering the course of global history. This comprehensive historical account traces the life and times of Columbus, the motivations behind his journey, the voyages he undertook, his encounters in the New World, and the enduring impact of his discoveries. During the 15th century, European nations were beginning to expand their knowledge of the world. Portugal had pioneered sea routes along the African coast in search of a path to Asia for trade in spices, gold, and silk. Maritime technologies like the caravel, improved maps, and the magnetic compass had made longer voyages more feasible. Europe was hungry for goods from Asia, but the overland route, Silk Road, was long, expensive, and controlled by intermediaries, including Arab and Ottoman traders. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 to the Ottomans further complicated trade with the East, prompting European powers to search for new routes. Early years. Christopher Columbus was born between August and October 1451 in Genoa, a port city in what is now Italy. From a young age, he was drawn to the sea and became a sailor. He gained experience sailing in the Mediterranean and later the Atlantic. Columbus was influenced by books such as The Travels of Marco Polo and Imago Mundi, which suggested the Earth was round and that Asia could be reached by sailing west. Though most educated people already knew the Earth was round, Columbus vastly underestimated the size of the Earth and overestimated the size of Asia. Columbus believed he could reach the East Indies, modern-day Southeast Asia, by sailing west across the Atlantic. He proposed this idea to the rulers of Portugal, England, and France but was rejected multiple times. After years of trying, Columbus gained the support of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain. They agreed to fund his voyage, hoping to compete with Portugal in the race for trade and empire. In 1492, Columbus signed the Capitulations of Santa Fe, which granted him titles, Admiral of the Ocean Sea, governorship of any new lands, and a share in any wealth discovered. Columbus set sail from Palos de la Frontera on August 3, 1492, with 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. The voyage. Sailing westward, Columbus and his men crossed the Atlantic. After more than 2 months at sea, morale was low and the crew threatened mutiny. Columbus promised they would turn back if land was not seen in 3 days. On October 12, 1492, land was sighted by Rodrigo de Triana aboard the Pinta. Columbus named the island San Salvador, likely in the Bahamas. He believed he had reached the East Indies. He later explored other islands, including Cuba and Hispaniola, modern-day Haiti and the Dominican Republic, where the Santa Maria was shipwrecked. Encounters with natives. Columbus encountered the Taino people, describing them as gentle and generous. He noted their gold ornaments and began taking some as captives to show the Spanish court. The return and triumph. Columbus returned to Spain in March 1493. He brought gold, exotic goods, and a few indigenous captives. He was celebrated as a hero. The Spanish monarchs granted him more ships for further exploration, believing he had found islands near Asia. The Second Voyage, 1493 to 1496. Expansion and colonization. Columbus's second voyage involved 17 ships and over 1,000 men. It was not just exploratory but intended to colonize. He founded La Isabela on Hispaniola, the first European settlement in the New World. Conflicts. The Spanish mistreated the natives, leading to violent confrontations. Columbus imposed a system of tribute and forced labor. The indigenous population began to suffer immensely. Third and Fourth Voyages. 7. The Third Voyage, 1498 to 1500. Columbus reached the South American mainland at the Orinoco River, present-day Venezuela, but his governorship in Hispaniola was marked by accusations of tyranny and mismanagement. He was arrested and returned to Spain in chains but later pardoned. The fourth voyage, 1502 to 1504. Still determined to find a route to Asia, Columbus sailed along the Central American coast but faced storms, shipwrecks, and hostility. He never found the passage he sought. Columbus's final years and death. Columbus spent his final years in relative obscurity. He felt wronged by the Spanish crown, which stripped him of his titles and power. He died on May 20, 1506, in Valladolid, Spain, still believing he had found the outskirts of Asia. The legacy of Columbus's voyages initiated the Columbian Exchange, a massive movement of people, animals, plants, cultures, and diseases between the Old and New Worlds. While Europe gained riches and colonies, native populations faced devastation from disease, slavery, and conquest. Impact on the world. Columbus's journeys were pivotal in shaping the modern world. They began centuries of European colonization and led to the formation of modern nations across the Americas. However, they also caused the destruction of entire civilizations and cultures. Columbus in modern perspective. Hero or villain? For centuries, Columbus was celebrated as a visionary explorer. But in recent decades, there has been growing criticism of his role in initiating colonization, exploitation, and genocide. Many now view him as a controversial figure, a skilled navigator, yes, but also a man who helped usher in centuries of imperial domination over indigenous peoples. Columbus in modern perspective. Hero or villain? For centuries, Columbus was celebrated as a visionary explorer. But in recent decades, there has been growing criticism of his role in initiating colonization, exploitation, and genocide. Many now view him as a controversial figure, a skilled navigator, yes, but also a man who helped usher in centuries of imperial domination over indigenous peoples. Columbus Day controversy. In the United States, Columbus Day, October, is a federal holiday. However, many states and cities have renamed it Indigenous Peoples Day to honor native histories and cultures. Myths and realities. Columbus proved the Earth was round. Reality, most educated people already knew the Earth was round. Columbus discovered America. Reality, indigenous peoples lived in the Americas for millennia. Norse explorer Leif Erikson had reached parts of North America around 1000 CE. Columbus landed in the U.S. Reality. He landed in the Caribbean, never on the North American mainland. Christopher Columbus's voyage in 1492 did not discover a new continent for the first time, but it did initiate a lasting contact between Europe and the Americas. His expeditions opened the door to centuries of exploration, colonization, cultural exchange, and conflict. Columbus remains one of history's most complex figures, celebrated for his daring vision and criticized for the suffering that followed. To understand Columbus is to understand a pivotal turning point in global history. His voyages reshaped the world politically, economically, culturally, and ecologically. Whether seen as a heroic explorer or a harbinger of conquest, his place in history is undeniable.